what we talked about yesterday, okay? So the point, the flow, because I've been given 3 days and we have to talk about value of business. And when we started yesterday about business, and we said, what comes to mind when we talk about business? It's money, right? Money is good. And so I didn't talk anything about money actually, except presenting you what is GDP. I actually didn't speak anything about money as such, right? So the point was, like you all said yesterday, like you said, what we were trying to look, was it a bigger picture that starts from us, our purpose, why we are made and how we are made. Okay? And from there, we went to see why GDP? Because everything that we buy and sell, we do, okay, every spending that we do, it is actually going into the basket of the GDP. Okay, so I just wanted you to know that, okay, this is how we talk about, we measure measure the economic activity based on GDP. And business, yes, it's about money, but more than money, it's about people. You cannot do any business if you do not have people around, you know. People are the most important resources that we have. And when I talked about the emotional intelligence and the leadership pattern within the emotional intelligence quadrant, it was to show that people are valuable, people are the most important asset, and they are the ones who guide economy. They are the ones who guide technology, because we live in the world of artificial intelligence. There is always a talk of how AI will take over human power, human intelligence. And I keep listening to some of those high-tech guys. I really like listening to them. And they usually come up and say, no, you know, it's not possible that AI would take over. Human mind is always very powerful, the way it is being made. Of course, you know, AI would come in and it would replace a lot of processes that we are doing. And some of those could be very damaging, because it's how we design, but at the end, really, human mind is intricate, the way we are made. Even the way, yeah.
Sorry, what is
Artificial intelligence. Okay, yeah, sorry. AI stands for artificial intelligence, okay? And if I use any other acronyms, please don't hesitate to ask, okay? Yeah, so the way we look at our body systems, you know, our respiratory system, or the various systems within us. It's amazing how God has put each of those things in place, or even how we respond to a stimuli coming from outside. So it's all, where is it? It's all tuned or in our brain. Okay. So the point of yesterday was, God actually initiated work, and he made his managers or stewards to watch over the creation that he made beautifully and wonderfully, and how to further that so it will multiply, it will grow, it will be a blessing for others around us, and it will bring glory to God. That is the purpose of business. And as a Christian, we need to be very cognizant of this fact, okay? And today what we will do is we will see about, so business is about people, managing or organizing people around. And when I talked about the leadership style in artificial intelligence, not artificial, emotional intelligence, it was to tell you that, you know, that's only leadership to deal with emotions, okay? It doesn't replace other leadership styles. There are many other leadership styles and so on, with collectively how somebody functions. But this is in the domain of managing people, managing emotions. We saw in the first commandment, right? Love the Lord your God with all your heart, mind, and soul. So the emotional intelligence is more the hard part, you know. The intellectual capacity and all those, that's the mind part. And the soul is we as a complete person. Yeah, so that was the reason I showed. So if you have learned other leadership styles and so on that you were taught, it is not to replace that. All right. Good. So that was a recap, a good recap. And let's go into today. Today's journey is actually into skill set. How do we actually process skills? And because of the skills, what happens? There were a few questions asked yesterday that will be covered today. So again, I'm going to show you a lot of different things, and I will not go into details of those. Okay, only what I'll give you, I think it's sufficient enough for you to have a grasp of things. And then, in case if you feel that, oh, I want to study a little bit more about it, there is the internet, resources on the internet, so you can study. So you'll be learning a lot of different things. Is that good for you?
Yes.
If you don't like it, just tell me in between. Then we will continue to talk on that. So let me present myself. I have to share my screen, right? Share screen. Okay, who's down today?
Levi.
Are good?
Yes.
Yeah.
Perfect.
All good.
Another day.
Okay. So yesterday we saw God is the one who initiated work, right?
Mm-hmm.
Today we're going to see that God is a God of order. And how do we see that? You see 1 Corinthians 14:30, is it right? Yeah. Well, 14:33. It says, "For God is not a God of disorder, but of peace." So I was looking for various references. I found this verse to be very beautiful. And in this verse, God is associated with order by the negation of that sentence there. He is not associated with disorder. So what is he associated with? He's associated with order. And look at the picture I just took, two pictures. That's the northern lights coming from the northern countries, especially those who live in Norway and so on. They're really privileged to see those beautiful northern lights. Look at this bird, how amazingly, beautifully it's been made, right? The color combinations and so on. Is there anything else that you like when you look around, not just in the nature, you can tell about nature. Is there anything that you like when you look around and you're awestruck to see that, oh my God, it's magnificent? Would you like to share anything as well? When you look at them, yes.
I mean, she said anything other than nature. I love nature. I love mountains. I love. It's one of my favorite. The physical creation of God is one of my favorite ways He speaks to me.
So how do you? Do you go and spend more time, or when you look at, you are awestruck? So do you do something? Do you just stand there and watch, or what do you do?
I mean, praise God, journal in those times, just kind of like quiet, kind of contemplate the Lord, read the Word. Yeah, I love. So I'm from Canada in a very nature-filled part, so I love nature. It's my happy place.
Like this with people, right? Yeah, this is also very, very close to nature. Yeah. And I come from city, and I'm really used to hopping from city to city, and the way that I enjoy or admire God, of course, besides the nature, okay? When I see people, the way they engage, the people, the way they clothe, the people, the way they engage in communities, how they eat, and so, it's amazing how people are so different, and they're all made in the image of God, whether you like it or not, So yeah. So God is a God of order. You agree?
Yep.
Yeah. We all agree, right? He's a God of honor, isn't it? He's not a God of disorder. He's really a God of peace and order. Even in those times when we are bombarded with situations or doubts in our life that, oh, this is not, how things should be happening. If we have prayed about it, if we're committed, if we are walking according to this call, we can know that despite the commotion in the situation, God's peace is there if we have committed our way to Him. Let's read the scripture portion, and before that, I have to tell you that it's been a long time since I read the Bible from end to end. Okay, there were days from my younger days and so on. I would read end to end. But afterwards, I usually pick up a book depending on what I'm doing or what I need, and then I reflect on that particular book. Okay. So I started my journey at the beginning of this year to read from Genesis to, yeah, without forcing myself with any target to finish. And I was reading Exodus. How many of you like Exodus?
That's great.
Yeah. Okay. Leviticus.
You can get through it.
Okay. And what do you like about Exodus?
Story of God's faithfulness to His
Yeah.
people, and I
Yeah.
really love Exodus 30 to 33, where
Yeah.
it talks about like the closeness and intimacy of
Mhm.
seeing God face to face.
Yeah. That's right. And when you come to Leviticus, for instance, are you reading it with great excitement? Yeah.
I quite enjoy it. Yeah.
You can enjoy it.
I used to not, and then when I learned to study it more and get more deeper with it, now it's come out alive. But for the
Yeah.
longest time, not at all.
Yeah, that's true. And yeah, but for some people it can be so boring, Leviticus is all about those different kinds of offerings and so on with too many nuances and details. But I have to tell you that I agree with you, okay, on both the books. And let's see what it says in this scripture portion. I want somebody to read out loud. Read it out loud and slowly, please, okay? Yeah.
Then the Lord said to Moses, See, I have given Bezalel, son of Uri, the son of Hur, of the tribe of Judah, and I have filled him with the Spirit of God, with wisdom, with understanding, with knowledge, and with all kinds of skills, to make artistic designs for work in gold, silver, and bronze, to cut and set stones, to work in wood, and to engage in all kinds of crafts. Moreover, I have appointed Aholiab, the son of Ahisamach, of the tribe of Dan, to help them. Also, I've given ability to all the skilled workers to make everything I have commanded you: the tent of meeting, the ark of the covenant law with the atonement cover on it, and all the other furnishings of the tent, the altar and the table and its articles, the pure lampstand and all its accessories, the altar of incense, the altar of burnt offering and all its utensils, the basin with its stand, and also the woven garments, both the sacred garments for Aaron the priest, and the garments for his sons when they serve as priests, and the anointing oil and fragrant incense for the holy place. They are to make him just as I commanded you. Exodus 33, 1 to 11.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you for reading it. So, what do you see in this passage?
God has given skills to people to do actually what He kind of told them to do.
Yes, exactly. It's packed, isn't it? Isn't it power packed actually? With so much details, right? I have to tell. Do you see that God is telling He has chosen Bezalel. He's giving names. It's when this happens, just to give you the background, probably some of you know, but for those who don't know, this is when the people of Israel they left Egypt and they were wandering in the desert, and then they were about to enter the promised land. So this was before that, 1 million people outside. And among that huge group, God is telling that I have chosen Bezalel and Uri. Is it that Uri? Yeah. Uri, yeah. And he says that, what has he done? He has filled them with the Spirit of God. You see? That's the first thing, to be filled with the Spirit of God, because skills, God is the one who gives us gifts and talents. It's He who gives us the innate ones. And then it says, He has given them wisdom and understanding. Understanding is how to use and so on, Normally, understanding is related to knowledge, and you can acquire it. You can do a training, you can go to school and you learn. But wisdom doesn't come it's not from training. It's more, it's about knowledge, okay? It's really about knowledge. And for us Christians, it comes by walking with the Lord. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. Yes. So you see, though He's filled them with the Spirit of God, He's given them wisdom, He's given them understanding and knowledge and all kinds of skills. I'm a person of details. Okay, I often have to work under compliance, and in compliance is all about details. To know. Okay, so I have an eye for detail, and I was so amazed, and I love it, and I read it so many times again and again. That God tells them How should the measurement of the tabernacle be? Okay, how should the showbread table should be? How should the lampstand be? What kind of material they need to choose? How would be the clothes of the priest be? What kind of those? There are those 12. Am I fast?
No, it's
Okay.
It's really good.
The 12, he says that on the priestly garment, there used to be 12 stones, okay, and each representing the tribe. He tells which are those precious stones. If we read in Revelation, he's referring to the same stones again, and so on and so forth. You see, he doesn't leave us in limbo when you are walking with him, when he has called you to do something, and if you are walking in obedience with him, he doesn't leave us alone. We need to ask him for wisdom. We need to ask him for guidance. We need to ask him for knowledge. Okay, and it's not something magical, because God uses normal things around us. We are not gifted in everything. That's why we need to have teammates, people, those who have complementary skills than us. Okay, in order to perform better. We usually don't need people. Sometimes, we feel more comfortable with people who think more like us. That we don't so much like people who challenge us. But if we want to work well, and if we want to put together a business or an enterprise or whatever you are building, you need people who think differently from you, but we need to be aligned with the same thing. The person should be should be filled with the Spirit of God. That means it's good to have a godly person, because on fundamental things, if you don't agree, then it is not good. So going back, so this is our basis for today, this particular, scripture portion, that it is God who gives us all the skills, and he guides us and he leads us towards the way that we want to go. Yeah.
Slight change of topic, but similar kind of thread,
Yeah.
so feel free to answer now or not.
Yeah.
But when you're in a company, or kind of like heading up a team, something like that, what would you say to kind of promoting Christians, possibly in some ways more so than non-Christians, because they have similar values to you? Like, how do you work in that way?
Okay, actually, I wouldn't do that. If I'm working, when I work in a company, although the person who's a Christian, the way I would deal with him, the way I will associate with him, the way I give him information would be different. But when I'm engaged by a company, the company has engaged, whether this person is a Christian or a Muslim or whatever faith they're coming from, they have engaged them because of the skill set that is needed.
Yes.
So for that particular task, what I'm doing, I would treat them absolutely the same way as all the rest of the team. Otherwise, I'm showing partiality, and it is not very good. But in my private life, I might have more conversations with that person and so on, but I still need to respect what is the norms that if I'm a manager and I have people under me, I have to treat all of them in the same way, because God treats everybody in the same way, all the rules that he gave for the people of Israel, he also said it applies for every stranger. That means every foreigner who's living in Israel or among the people, and also every sojourner who's passing by. Does that answer?
Yes.
Okay, good, very good, thank you. So keep this scripture portion in your mind. Let's go look forward. Now I skip into tools. Okay, I'm just going into tools or informations and so on. If you don't understand, just put your hands up and ask me. So basically, any company or any organization has some basic functions. Okay. Some are actually there in every organization. If you're setting up a company of your own, it could be, even if it is an association, or it could be a sole proprietorship. That means you are setting up your own independent company. There are some basic functions. Okay, finance is one basic function, because you need money to run your operations, or to sell your thing, or to produce. If you're a gifted in confectionaries, making sweets, and you want to start a bakery, so you will need to buy things, raw material, you will cook those, you will bake those nice pastries and so on, and you will sell it, money will come in, but you also need to put money, right? So money, finance is one of those very important functions. And human resources, if you are like from 2, you are engaging another, you have grown, you have 5, then you grow to 10, you grow to 20. So there are people engaged. So, we need to pay them. And when you pay them, when you're about 25 in a company, we are coming under certain regulations that comes from the government. So we need to make sure that they get their pension funds and so on and so forth. So it's the human resources that takes place. Okay, the salaries and how they're accounted. Are they keeping the leave, the holidays that they take, the vacations that they take, is it in line with the government rules, and so on and on. So the human resources function takes care. And then now we are all working in very modern kind of a setup, right? So information technology, IT, or it's also called ICT, information and communication technology. So if you read information technology or if you read ICT, it's the same. So that is all about computers, I see that everything is very nicely fixed. So somebody here is taking care of the IT. So you are actually part of the ICT or IT department, okay? It's very well done, I like it, okay. And then besides that, commercial department, what it does is it buys things and, buying things. So like I said, your bakery has suddenly become so big that you have engaged 25 people and you are making, let's say that you make 500 bread or 1,000 breads every day. So in order to make that, you need to have the raw material, right? The oil, the butter, the salt, and the sugar, and I don't know what all you need, the wheat flour, whatever. So when you buy this one, you need to be careful how you are spending your money. You cannot go and put so much, just go to Migros and buy it from there. And then, then your profit margin will be very less, because let's say that if I am buying things for 30 francs and when I sell something that I make, I'm selling it for 40 francs, I only have 10 francs profit. But I am being prudent. I decide that I live very close to Germany or France, okay? So I know that things are like 20-30% cheaper there than Switzerland. So I just go there and I procure it from there. So instead of 30 francs, I'm able to buy things for 15 francs actually. And I'm still selling it for 40 francs, So now my profit is more. So just imagine this 1,000-folds bigger for bigger companies, okay? So commercial department is a very important department because we buy things from China and India or from somewhere from Latin America. So it is being shipped from there, and there are some trade agreements that we need to respect and so on. So yeah.
How does fair trade connect with that?
The fair trade? Fair trade, okay. All right. So fair trade is basically, it's basically an ideology, okay? It's an ideology where, let's say Nestle, let's take the example of Nestle. Nestle buys its cocoa from Africa, okay? Some countries in Africa. So what they decide is, they decide that they will not buy cocoa from farms that doesn't treat their people well, okay? Or don't pay them well, or do not take care of their societal requirements well. Instead, Nestle says that, okay, those farms from which we buy, we will take care that all the farm employees, they're very poor actually, so they will have a medical insurance, they will have the children going to school, so they will pay, take care of their children's school fees and so on. And the people who work are treated with respect and dignity. So there is a contract that is signed between Nestle and that particular 10 farms, 20 farms, whatever. Then Nestle gets this, it's a certification again, it's all certification, you cannot just put it like that. And then Nestle gets that certification that they are under fair trade, actually. For example, when we buy Nike and, all those Adidas and those expensive clothes, actually, that most of the young people like to wear, I know it's very comfortable. And here in Switzerland, it's sold for very, very high prices, very high price, because we actually pay for other parts of the world as well, okay? So it's produced in Bangladesh, and to make those is much, much cheaper. And if you remember, some years back, there was a huge fire in Bangladesh in some of those factories. And then the multinationals were accused of, not caring for their people well, and not giving them good working conditions, and so on and on. So now people are waking up because the United Nations is imposing something very important. It is called human rights in business. So far it was human rights. Human rights is rights for women, rights for children, rights for people, communities that are persecuted, and so on. But now there is also something called human rights in business, and the fair trade actually comes under that. So for those of you who are online, fair trade, when here in Switzerland, when we go to buy things, we usually see stamp of fair trade or products being sold under the mark of fair trade. And many people like to buy that because they feel a moral responsibility, and they feel that, okay, by buying this, I'm saying that I'm supporting a business which is done with respect for human. Okay, that's what it means. So we talked about the commercial department. Then there is a business development and marketing department. The business development is something to grow. So, for example, in this bakery, you saw that you're in a village. Let's say Wheeler. I don't know how big it is. There are like 1,000 families, and you bake cake and bread, and those families, they buy it. You can't grow anymore, So you decide that maybe you have the capacity to bake more bread. So you decide that you will also sell in the next 2 villages nearby. But you are the manager, you are very busy doing all the rest of the things, and you hire somebody who's very friendly, who can go and meet the local leader of the next 2 villages or the bakery and so on, to go and talk to them, not to create a competition, but to say that, okay, you know what, you make this bread, but our bread is made up of, I don't know, let's say it has a little bit of nuts and this and that inside. We can provide you this one. So, you will have some extra bread. So this person is developing your business. Okay, this is a very simple example of somebody who develops your business, who goes and talks about your business, who finds an opportunity. If I may give you another example here, perhaps you know that because it's something very, very old, okay, and we used to talk in business schools a long, long time back. There was this gentleman who was sent to a tropical island nation, to sell footwear. It was a company that was selling footwear, footwear. So he went there, and he saw that nobody in that place wears footwear. They walk barefoot, actually. So he came back and he told his management, I'm sorry, we do not have any market there. The market research says that those people don't wear any footwear. So why bother we sell it there? So the manager, he thought through that, and he sent another guy to go back and to do the research. And when he looked, he also came back and said the same thing. He said, nobody wears footwear, but it's very hot there, and the roads are really very rough. Okay, so it would be nice to so we have a possibility to make a footwear that would fit their need, which would be easy, comfortable, affordable, and for the weather. And then they came up with those flip-flops, that is warm, which is very easy. Even now, when we go to the tropical areas, we try to wear those. So you see, the person who does business development, you should be able to see opportunities, okay? For this, you need wisdom too. Knowledge is there, but also there is a gift of wisdom. What is marketing? Okay, they put marketing and business development together. Yes, in small companies, yeah, but in big companies, no. Sometimes when people put sales and marketing together, they are not the same. Marketing is really to market your product. So, for example, for big companies, it would be like giving advertisements on television. In those olden days, it was a newspaper, it cost a lot of money. Okay, and today it is actually when we, in the SB, when I entered, you had a lot of placards of various courses that you do here. That's the marketing actually, those flyers and those videos that you make of the institution and you put it on Facebook and other social media. That's marketing. But then what is sales? Sales is different. Sales is really selling, and people from sales are really kind of, pushy. Here, for instance, the people from sales, they're really very persistent. They come and they try to convince what is the goodness in the product. That was supposed to be it was supposed to be like that in those days, but now sales, it has a very different connotation, and people kind of chase you all the time. Here in Switzerland, it's medical insurances, so 12 o'clock you start to get a call and people just start to impose it on you. But a good way of sales is to come and to present what is the uniqueness of your product and why it would be helpful for you. Okay, that's the sales in a good way. Then let's look at operations. Operations is basically everything that needs to happen during the day in order to bake the bread. That means the stove needs to be running. The stove needs to have, if it is running with oil, it needs oil. If it is with gas, it needs gas. If it is running with electricity, it needs electricity. It needs, what is it called? Everything. For instance, if the vessels are very hot, you need to have those special blouses, those special clothes, and so on. And because you use it a lot, so your vessels and utensils may become very old soon, and they might break off. So you need to buy new things. So operations is all about every activity that makes these things happen on a daily basis. Okay, the operations person is extremely busy actually, because they are the ones who are really doing all those looking into the small details. But some of these functions, having said, are called cross-functional. Okay, that means no matter whether you're in the sales department or marketing department or operations or commercial, you need all of them. And those cross functions are human resources, finance, and information technology. Okay, so normally we show a picture where there are different departments, and this is going through all. Yeah.
Can you please repeat those three that are cross functions?
Finance, because everybody gets, everybody every department needs money, right? Every department needs money, whether it's business development or sales or operations or commercial or information technology or whatever. So one is finance, the other is human resources, because we engage people in every department. Every person needs to get their salary, every person needs to get their leave and vacation, and so on and so forth. And the third one would be today is information and technology. That's a cross function. That means you need computers, you need laptops, and you need mobile phones set up for all employees across all these functions. Okay, so if you hear the word cross function, that's what it means. Is that clear? Yeah, are you with me? Those on okay, good. Shall we move forward? Oh, do you have any questions online? Okay. This picture that you see there are a lot more functions in there, correct? So this would be, that means that organization that I'm showing is much bigger than the previous organization. Okay, you see there are details of there are so many other. You see, sales is separate, marketing is separate, ICT is separate, production. There is a new department called production, because that production, why? Because like when I'm talking about glass packaging companies, like each factory that I used to work for, that we had, each factory produces like 500,000 bottles every day. So it means that there are so many production lines, so many assembly lines, and you know what happens? They have clients. Clients need different. For example, we have some clients need smaller bottles, some clients need bigger bottles, some clients need in a bigger shape, some clients need in a tiny shape. So there needs to be a planning taking place and how things should be changed around. So that's why you have a separate production department. And if it is a medical company, something to do with medical and pharmacy and so on. Not necessarily only these two companies, but there are basically all companies have a research and development department or a function, R&D. There, I said medical because that is this department is inevitable for anyone from the medical or pharmaceutical sector because we're constantly making research. What is better? What kind of better treatment can be given for somebody suffering from cancer or people those who are how can the life of mothers who are pregnant be made better, and so on and so forth. Okay, you don't need to memorize all of those things. It is just to let you know that distribution function, customer service is what, like customer services. You have bought something, and then when you bought it, a new laptop, for instance, from HP, you lived in Packard, and you realize that something is not okay with that. It gets started, but something doesn't go forward. So then you call the customer service because they are responsible for taking care of all questions related to anything that. And distribution is, you produce things and you cannot give directly to the people those who are buying actually. So you need to have several channels actually who take it through. When we go to Migros, for example, here in Switzerland, or Coop, it's not Migros or Coop that produces things. It's somebody else somewhere, is producing the thing, and they sell it to A, then the A sells to B, and B sells to Migros. Okay. Okay. In this, though I talked at length on this, all I want you to remember is that there are many functions in an organization or in a company. Okay? Depending on the size of the company, there may be more divisions, like on the left, the picture on the left. If not, there are fewer. And some functions you need. So tomorrow, you think of starting a company in your own country. You know that, okay, I need somebody to take care of HR. I need somebody to take care of, what is it called? If there is some, if I need to use social media, some technology and so on. Are we good? Are you with me? Yeah? Okay. Okay. Now, I told you that there are so many departments, correct? So so many departments means so many tasks to do. Isn't it? So many things to do. Oh, maybe you are a one-man army because you just set up something. You have to take care of your IT, you have to take care of your human resources, you have to answer the tax report that the government sends to you, and so on. So how do you prioritize your tasks? And when you get overwhelmed actually, handling tasks, and most people what they do is just called firefighting. It means that okay, well, what calls your attention the highest? If something is on fire, what do? Like in some countries we still use the LPG, the gas, and if you put your food on a pan, and if there's fire, you really reach out to put that fire out. So we just attend to whoever is shouting the loudest and asking for your attention. But that way we will not be successful. So what happened when Eisenhower, he was the president of the United States, he saw that he has a lot of things to do as a president, and he said that some are urgent but not important. Okay? But it's urgent, he needs to. And some are important, but they are never so urgent that it demands his time. So based on that, they came up with the Eisenhower matrix, and I want to show you that. Okay, so the Eisenhower matrix. How do you do? You have so many tasks to do. Okay, you write it down. You have 20 activities to do. You have to cook food, you have to wash clothes, you have to write your project report, you have to send the tax to the government, you have to file your tax to the government, okay? And so on and so forth. If you're married, then you add more things, okay? If you have kids, add another lot of things. So things keep increasing. The number of tasks that you need to do increases. If you're engaged in your church, add more. If you're playing music, add more, and so on and on. So the matrix is like this. There's something called urgent and less urgent. okay, or actually, yeah, urgent or less urgent. Then the other one is important or less important. Okay, so those are the tasks. I mean, you have a task and you have to take time to segregate what is urgent and important. If something is urgent, that means there is a deadline to it. It needs to be done. Today is what? What day is today? 16th. Okay. I'm just looking at that letter and it needs to be answered before the 17th. If I don't answer before the 17th, they will stop my, let's say, my scholarship. Okay. All right. So you know that's urgent, but it's also important for you because you need that scholarship in order for you to live, isn't it? So you do it now. You put it in do it now category. Then you have another task that you have taken it up. You see that it's important. It is you have to file the tax because you're about 18 and in your country you're required to file the tax. And you need to file this tax until the 15th of June. Okay? So the filing of the tax is very important because it is the responsibility of you towards your government. So it's important, but it's not urgent. You don't need to do it today, tomorrow, right? Mm-hmm. So you schedule it in your calendar, not on the 15th of June, but you say, okay, let me do it beginning of May. So I'm done with this, or 15th of May. So I'm done with it with sufficient amount of time. Maybe your tax, like I was helping some young people where their tax was very, very simple, but perhaps you do a lot more things in your life and your taxation can be very complex. So if you have to file your tax on the 15th of May, you actually need to start working on it already from January or February because you need to make sure you have all the papers ready, your salary slips, all those concessions that you get, and all those interest from bank and so on. So it's called your preparation time. You need to make sure. If you will go on the 15th of May and you will look, and it's possible that, you will just get delayed to the next month. So coming back, what is important but less urgent, you schedule it. Okay? Are we with, yeah? Mm-hmm. Then there is a task in front of you. It's not so important. Okay, so that task is actually you have to give 10 music pieces, okay, to your church music team. Okay, they asked you to give, and you realize that you took the job, but more than you, it will be your brother who'll be better at that. He's a gifted guitarist and he leads worship in another church and so on. So you talk out to him, you say that, hey, can you pick for me 10 songs or suggest me 10 songs that you like, and give it to me on such and such day. So you can just forward it to them. The other way of delegating is that between me and Benji, because we share a lot of responsibilities. So when somebody asks, there are a lot of people who want to meet us because, like I said, we are people, and because of the places we are, and we are also open to people. So there's so many meetings that we need to schedule. And Benji knows that I'm a person of details and everything stays on mine. So he says, lovely, when somebody comes, we want to meet you. He says, lovely. I'll tell my wife and she will schedule it, let's meet together. So then I have the details of the thing. Okay, so he has done that. So I will look and I know his agenda and I know that when we go, and I also know that which dates are important for us as a family, or for friends. It's a friend's wedding or it's my child's birthday and so on. Those are important. So I take those into detail and then I send a meeting invitation or, I send it to Benji and this person, who has asked for. So you see that he has delegated the task over to me instead of he looking and doing. Yeah. Wherever you can delegate, you should delegate. Okay. The fourth quadrant is the task that is less important, less urgent. What could that be? Less important, less urgent. Yeah. Like today we tend to get a lot of things online, right? So every day WhatsApp messages and so many videos and pictures coming on. So if your phone has sufficient storage, actually, or when the message that comes in, it doesn't make any sense for you, you delete it immediately. But some of those you still want to keep it, because you want to process and you want to think through. But you have done this, and you're kind of running out of your storage capacity. Okay, so this is a very good case for you. This is important for you because you need to have more space. And this is urgent because you're not able to do things, your phone is getting slowed down. So this would actually go under scheduling. You have to do it under schedule, or you have to do it right now if it calls for attention. If you are not in any such situation, your best practice would be you get a message, it doesn't make any sense to you, you don't want to leave it for future, to just delete it. Yeah. Let's pause here. And can any of you think of any example from your life that you can put in any of these quadrants? From your day-to-day activities.
Well, these days, something urgent, like, homework and fall, I think it's at least the top two for sure. If we do finish a week on Friday and we have our journals due Saturday, well, then that's urgent and important. We need to take care of that. Something like, the final paper, or especially the final presentation that's due in 3 weeks from now. That's something that's important, but it's less urgent. So it's like, okay, I'll schedule times to work on it kind of throughout the week. So, yeah.
But do you get the concept? You get the concept, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you have this in the back of your mind, as you go, as you take more and more and more responsibilities in your life, you will not be perfect because this is a tool to help you. Mm-hmm. It is not that the tool is not, you are not there to, be for you are not there to be for the tool, to say that, oh, I use it, but rather this tool is just to help you when you are overwhelmed with so many tasks. Okay? Are we good? Is it okay to move to one other topic now? Are you with me? Those of you who are online, you're fine. Also, why don't we do that? Good. Should we go? Continue? Shall we continue?
Yeah, sure.
To one more topic before we take a break. Okay, so now we saw, you probably missed it, and I can explain. No, that's perfectly fine. If you need, I can explain to you later. Okay, and so we spoke about the different functions in an organization, and because of that, there are so many tasks, and we are overwhelmed how to do, what to do. So here is a matrix, how you can prioritize them. It's a help tool. Now let's look at another thing, time management. Because what does all these take? It's your time, right? Time is the biggest asset, we cannot store it. When you give it to others, it is something most precious that you give to someone, okay? Your time. So let's try to look at this time management a little bit. Maybe you have your own styles, but this is one of those that can help. I will put, so you see on the picture, you have your task, you have your to-do, you have your priority, you have your project, you have plan, you have your achievements, right? It can be really overwhelming, huh? So how do you organize your time? And a good way to organize your time is writing down all those things that are important. So let's say that, let me take my example, okay? There was a time when I was a student. Then there was a time we became a couple, okay? So when I was a student, I had to study, I had to do assignments from work, and maybe I had some engagements in my community, my church, and so on, okay? But I still chose basically how my time should be organized. Then we got married, so now we have to do things together, and we need to come. And when we are invited for a dinner party, I don't say, okay, I'm coming, I don't know, I don't care if my husband comes or not. No, we are going together. So we need to find time together for ourselves because we have a full-time job. So how do we, so more things to schedule. Then we get our first child. Now it's not it's so external things, our work, then our own schedule of a couple, and then it's a child who decides the time. I can't tell my child when he or she should cry, or when they should ask for milk, and so on. So it becomes more complicated. Then you have your second child, then it is even more complicated. So not to scare you on, but there is beauty. There is beauty, and there is actually so much fullness in that if we take things in the right way. So how do we do that? I think, not I think, I would say that God time is the most important thing. When you're prioritizing your time, God time, your Bible time. So it means you schedule it. Some people in some cultures, they say you should wake up at 5 in the morning and pray, only then God hears it better. But it doesn't work for some of us, you know. You schedule any time during the day, morning, evening, afternoon, what is the best for you, and it will be you and God. So you can open the Bible, you can read, you can meditate, you can listen to Him, okay, and you can pray. And you can allocate your time for a special time for prayer because you have a very packed 5 days. So you say that the sixth day is the time when, during lunchtime, I will spend 30 minutes, 1 hour, just, praying and singing music or whatever. So God time between, I'm telling about you and me. I'm not talking about the time when you go to church and when you are in your worship team and so on. Okay, that's really priority. And you can choose what you want. I mean, Bible is the best book to choose to read as the first option, but you want to choose some other material, which is also teaching you from the Bible. Go ahead, do that. Then, second is, okay, why I put second as physical activity? Because today most of us, we are in jobs that requires us to sit in front of the computer. Even when you're a student, you spend more time sitting. So we are in sedentary activity. Actually, it's not good for health, And people like us, we never schedule physical activity, okay? Because it's so much, there's no time. So we have to intentionally do that, actually, to say that, okay, 1 hour, 3 times, okay, I'm going for a walk, okay, or I'm doing basketball, sports, or this or that. So schedule physical activity if your job doesn't require that. But if you're a nurse, you are up 8 hours. I don't think you need a physical activity as such because you can still do physical activity. You can go and do some nice, I don't know, whatever you want to do to de-stress yourself. Do that, but it's totally up to you because you're exhausted. You do not have time. You do not have more capacity because when you get back home, all you want is to sleep and somebody taking care of your child and nobody bothering you. Okay, so look around. But I'm talking about people those who are all the time sitting, and those of us who come from a country where we do not have as part of our culture embedded in us. Okay, the third is schedule something to build your skill, whatever skill. For example, it could be to learn. You are going to, let's say, you go to India, okay, and you're going to work in a very remote place. So they speak, let's say, they speak Tamil in that place, okay. So you schedule yourself to learn that language. Okay? Or you have some spare time, you learn piano as a child, but then you stopped learning it, for various reasons. And now you can spare some 30 minutes because you like now, the way you think is different. So you schedule 30 minutes or whatever during the week. Okay. Or you're going to start a new internship in the United Nations, for example, and you do not know much about multilateral diplomacy and so on and on. So you spoke to somebody and they gave you those 5 topics, so you schedule it to learn those things that they are giving you. Or you're going to make some video projects that you want to make, and you have downloaded some new tools, and you learn those new tools, those videos, how to work around. So building skill time is valuable when you can, because there comes a stage in life it becomes really very difficult. Then family and friends time. Okay, and the order here, the 3, 4, it's not necessarily the same order, okay? You choose how you want it. Family and friends are really indispensable part of our life, okay? Some of us, depending on the cultures we come from, sometimes some of us, we are just all the time with the family, so we think that we don't need to schedule anything specific with them. And some of us, we like to have this freedom and this independence, and we say that, okay, I'm good. I'm away from my parents. I'm away from my family. Let me have all my free time. No, your family is very important to you. They really care for you. So whether you're traveling, whether you are away for any kind of cause, even if it is not part of your family culture, make sure that, you call them, just ask them how they are doing, ask your parents how they are doing. Maybe it doesn't need to be a very short call. You can just ask, are you fine? And to tell them that I'm fine. And to say that, I'm enjoying this and this in my thing. It brings immense joy to your family, actually. Enormous. And actually, it makes your relationship even better. And then, and also, maybe we don't have, some of us, perhaps it's possible that we don't have that good relationship with our parents because of all the things that we experienced in life. But this is a way to build things. There are others who call their family every day and talk for hours and tell those things. But so they think that everything is said and done. But things needs to be systematized. For example, though you may talk out everything from your side to ask them how they are doing. Friends, yes. So you are married, you have friends, and you have kids, okay, and you want to have other families, contact with other families, so your kids and them, they can come together and so on. So your friends are then scheduled some time. For example, family time one example could be when our children were growing, we were doing our prayer was every night, right? Mornings we would also do a common prayer. Every night we had a family prayer together. But then when our children grew up, in the teens, they had a different lifestyle. We couldn't make it to every night. But then we saw that they started to engage the youth groups, and they started to run their own alpha course and run their own youth groups. We saw that they were ready to take up their own baton, and they were spending their own time with the Lord. So for us, it was not important that every day coming together. So we decided that, okay, once a week, let's come together to do that. Okay, or once a month, or once a week, whatever. You choose the frequency when you want to meet your friends. So you are studying the whole week, and you just want to get away with some friends, okay? So schedule it. So what I'm trying to say is family and friends are really important, okay? Have time to eat together and so on. The marriage time. If you're married, the marriage time is very, very important because couple become very busy. Whether they work together, working together can be very complex, actually. And especially if both of you are thinkers, then it can be really, you just don't find the right boundaries or borders. So it's very important that you say that, okay, my husband is working somewhere, my wife is, I'm working somewhere. There we come back in the evening, we take care of all the cooking, washing, cleaning, and so on. We really need to have a time just for the two of us, to go and do something that we like. It's not necessarily eating together. It could be something else. Maybe you want to go to a swimming pool together, or for Benji and myself, because we are so exhausted and we have very, very long days, totally out of energy, and when we come back, we have a lot of young people, and Benji's full of energy. They all have questions to ask him, and he's there to answer that. But I am really exhausted because I need my me time. So I go up to my room, and then after a while, I come down. I still talk to them. Then they all leave, and then we have a couch. And we just lie down there and we will just watch something, that we like. And for us, that is the way we de-stress us. Because we think that when we watch something, we do not have to use so much of a brain capacity. You know, you're just watching something. And when we are really not so much tightly packed, then we say, okay, now we are going for a walk. Now we are going to the swimming pool. Now we are going to do the thing. So you need to choose. Okay, so that's your marriage time. Then it's the me time. Some people say that I don't need me time. Everybody needs me time, actually. It's good to have your me time. But the me time where you take your personal care. I think we women take a little bit more time for our own personal care, manicure, pedicure, cleaning up face and all of those things. Maybe men don't do, but your me time could be, if you like to play chess, you like to play basketball, whatever. I mean, not just as physical activity, but do something that is only you, that you like to do for you, actually. And the last one is the organize my life. This is not the last one, actually. This in the hierarchy, I would put it higher above. Organize my lifetime. My time, actually, it's not my lifetime, okay? Organize my time, okay? My time is, you need to schedule either end of this week, how your next week looks and the next 2 weeks look, or in the beginning of the week. So you need to find the right balance. So for example, you say that, okay, I will plan my next week. Next week, I have my management meeting. That's for 3 days. I will set all my energy out. So it means I'm not quickly available for any questions at home, from my growing little kids. It means that if something happens to them during there's an emergency, a health emergency, they need to be picked up from the school. So I need to look for someone. So I write to another mother and say that, listen, next week, would it be possible that on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, if there is a need, that I can ask you to pick up Chris from the school, instead of me. So I have my backup plan for next week. And then I know that I won't be able to wash my clothes and so on, and for the family. So I tell Benji, would you take care of all the washing for next week? So he schedules it. And then I look at, I have a Zoom call with my church leadership. Okay, on Sunday I'm preaching and scheduling. So you organize your time. So you say that, okay, next week I do not have any time for family, any time for friends. Okay, I do not have time to do my physical activity. So you go to the next week, the second week, and it looks much better for you. And you schedule a little bit longer, physical activity or something else and so on. So organizing your time is actually allocating this whole thing into it. Now, again, this is a tool only to help you. And it is not that you will make this and you will strictly follow this and you will say that I will not adapt, I will not change, okay? And whatever happens, I need to really follow this. No, this is a tool to help you, and you should have the flexibility around it. Questions? Yeah. We can also take questions after a break. Shall we do a break?
Yeah,
I've got
no.
a little bit longer. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's okay.
Good. So how much break would you like?
I mean, we usually do 5 minutes break.
Yeah.
So, but you told us today like for 10 minutes. So
I only said because, I feel that I'm probably overloading you, Do you, in the classroom, we are all back. How about Kochi and Ibadan? Are you back too?
Yes, we just back.
All right.
Yes, we're back.
Okay, thank you very much. All right. So maybe before I continue, I just want to take stock of things. So what did we hear so far?
Well, you've told us about the skills that, well, first you talked about the awestruck of what kind of brings us to that place of like awe with God. Talked about the skills, went to Exodus, you can answer for everything, but we went through prioritizing tasks and the different kinds of urgent, important, not, etc.
Yeah.
And then we went to time management.
Thank you. Okay. And is it helpful?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yep.
Okay. So we saw that, yeah, we need skills, and skills are needed because of all the different functions a company or an organization will have. And because of all these various functions, they will have so many tasks, and they need to be scheduled in the right way. And scheduling is because we all have the same amount of time for every day. We cannot trade with one or the other. That's why we looked at time management. Okay. Now we will go to more skills. So you ready for more skills? Maybe you know it, maybe you don't know. Okay. So let's look. So this is about strategic thinking. Okay. Now, how do you strategically think? You are working for a company, okay? It could be a multinational, it could be a startup. You're working in a team, and you're being given a project to do, okay? Or even before the you're being asked to do a project, and they left it to you, okay, to decide and to think. So how would you process your thoughts? So I'm going to present two tools from the management. It's a very old management tool that people basically start to use or think about. Have you heard of the SMART tool? So that's SMART, okay? So SMART, it stands for SMART. Okay, that's SMART. Let's look at it in a closer manner. So I have to pick up a project, and I am told to do something for women in India. Okay, so that is my part. That's my. I was just told just do something for women in India. It has to really empower them. So how would I start to look around how should my thought process be? So first is we have to be specific. S stands for specific, okay? That means you need to know. Specific is like, I want to go to the post office to post this letter or to pay this open bill that I have. That is being specific. I want to go to the shopping mall because I want to buy chicken so I can cook it for my guests today. That's being specific. I'm just going to the shop. I'm just going for shopping to buy groceries for this week. That's general. Okay, so specific is what do you want to do? So I really want to empower women in India. So there are 1.3 billion. The population is 1.4 billion now. So women would be, I don't know how many percentage guys from India, but anyways, let's say that it's 50-50, although the women population is a little bit lesser. Well, let's put it in my case study, let's say 50% of, okay? So 50% of 1.4 billion is a lot. So am I able to do that for this so many loads of millions of people? I won't be able to do. So okay, 604 million. Okay, that's quite a lot, right? So I say that, okay, I want to empower the women in the village where my parents are, for example. Okay, that's specific. Give the name of so your project is you want to empower women in the village where your parents are. But that is again not very specific. What is empowering women? So now you go to this next step, you start to measure. So you need to know how will you track your empowerment. So you say, okay, the way I will empower is this. So in my village, let's say there are 100 families living there. Okay. And out of that, 20 are very old people, very old women, very, very old women. They don't have any family. There are 30 of them are widows, actually, and they're so poor and they do not have any income. And then there are around 50 children, girl children, for example, and they have parents, but they come from a family of laborers, so they do not have an income that these children can go to school every day. So my way of empowering would be, I will say that out of these 50 children, I will take a team of 5 young people with me. I'll go to India, to this village, and for 1 year, we will give them tuitions every evening. That we will give them extra lessons. Okay, so that is what I'm going to do. I'm not going to do anything for the widows. I'm not going to do anything for the old people because I do not have the capacity to do that. But maybe you have the capacity. So in your specifics, you go now. Subtopic B part done. These widows, I would actually engage some of these widows in my project of giving this tuition. So they will come to clean the place, to cook meal, to make some drinks for the children and some food, And when they do this, we will pay them some small, money to them, and that can be put in your project, okay? Because you're doing that, the need is arising because you have a project in the case. So you're taking care of the widows. The third one is you see that these old people, you basically don't have capacity to do anything. You decided that you can just go and visit them once a week and pray for them because you are a Christian, and you want to just encourage them, and give some of your handy tips, or even just to help them a little bit, maybe buying some small grocery for them, help. Okay, you're not putting money there actually, but you're putting your time there, okay? Or they take the water by I don't know, let's say that they actually have to bring the water from somewhere else, okay? So you will help them to bring the water there. This is the help that you're doing. So when you go back to specific, you say that, okay, my job is to empower women in this village by providing education to the children and engaging a few widows, I know, to do those activities around cooking, cleaning, washing, and then taking care of the needs of taking care, giving some support to these women. So that is very specific. And is this measurable? This can be measured. You can say, I gave in the last 1 year, you gave everyday lessons Monday to Friday. So 52 weeks, okay? Let's say that you didn't have any break in between 52 weeks, or let's say 2 weeks you took holidays. So 50 weeks into 5. So you did 250 lessons. So that's measurable, okay? And for the women, they cooked, each day they cooked a meal, let's say. 250 meals were cooked, and we paid to them the total of $1,000. This was we paid, okay? Just it's measurable. The third one, the women, the elderly people were visited every Friday by at least 3 of us. These many visits. So what I'm trying to say is, when you are whatever project you are taking, you should be able to measure it. If you are not able to measure that project, then it is not the project. It's not the right project. Okay? Because that helps you to track your progress. Perhaps this is what you set out to, but you couldn't do all the 5 days, instead of 50 weeks. Perhaps you could do only 45 weeks because the next 5 weeks there was a flood and or rain and things didn't happen. So this helps you to track. Yeah, okay, that's measurable. Then this is during the process when you're thinking about your process. Then you say, okay, is it attainable? Like when I said empowering women in India. That's not attainable. 605 million? Yeah, 605 million is there. But this is attainable because it's one village and I have the village panchayat or the village leader, we have taken them into stride. Or the people that we're working with, they are locals, so we have a good contact. Van Wheeler has a good relationship with this, somebody from this village who has a very important position in that village. Okay? So that is why it is attainable. Then, is it relevant to your, I wouldn't say life, I would say that here it says, is this relevant to your life right now? Okay, maybe you can ask that. Yes, it is relevant to my life right now because I have to do a project for this organization that I'm working for, and they have money to invest. And I am learning a new culture, a new way of serving communities. Okay, so but your question should be: is this relevant to not just to you, but to those for whom you are doing this? Yes, it is relevant because those children, they cannot pay for those extra tuitions. They just go to school and they learn basic minimum. But with your training, maybe some of them are very good in maths, some of them might be very good in language. So because of your training, they have really come up. They have better prospects. Okay, those women, because of your project, they have some income so they can take care of their family. All right, so it's relevant. So that's how it is relevant. Then timely. Timely is to see that is that the right time to do something. Let's say that you chose your project and then COVID came. And India, because we're talking about India here, the country got shut down. There's no foreigners inside, no tourists inside. So can your project take place now? It cannot. So you actually put it away. You say that, okay, everything is in place. We will just come back when things get okay and we will do it then. Or maybe you thought this beautiful plan, but then what happens is in that particular village, there is some political issues and they do not allow foreigners to come in. So then it is again not timely. Or the other, maybe there are some local elections happening, so it is not very timely. So the objective is that when you think of any project, when you think of starting something, if you would use the smart way of thinking, that aligns or gives you some kind of direction. Questions? No? Agree, disagree? You have time, okay? Even at the end, you can ask questions, all right? So smart, okay? Smart way of thinking, smart goals, smart objective. Kochi, are we okay? Ibadan, we're good too? Okay, let's go to, I don't know how many slides are there, but I don't think there are too many. Let's look at next. The next is, it's an analysis that we do when we are given any project. So now your company has given you a project, and you want to know your situation. You want to do your market research, actually. You need to think, what's happening outside? What do I have to offer? What needs to be brought in? Yeah, those things need to be thought, right? And for that, we use the SWOT analysis, SWOT, SWOT analysis. It stands for strengths,
Opportunities and threats.
Exactly. And you see again, there is a quadrant. You see, there are 4 quadrants. Okay? There are 4 quadrants for some reason. So there are 2 things that is internal to us. So I want to start a project, so personally for me, or for my company that I run. So the strength and weakness is internal. I have to check what are the strengths of my company, what are the weaknesses of my company. Or if I am the person, I am doing something, I need to know what are my strengths and what are my weaknesses. So that is internal. But then there are 2 things that are external. That is opportunities and threats. That means for my company, what is the opportunity in that particular situation? The government has called for a tender, and for my company, it would be very interesting to apply for that and to get that offer. But so I need to see what is my opportunity in that. I will come into details just after. And threats are, what are the challenges, that can come from externally, that can come to me, and that I won't be able to manage, or be able to manage, or you're not able to manage, and it can actually stop or really give me an edge forward. So let's look each of those into details with some examples. So if it's for my company, my organization, the strengths would be, I need to know what are we good at. So we are good at, I need to take an example, right? Let's go to the example of bakery again. So I am running a bakery in Wheeler, and I'm making those breads, those different kinds of breads and so on. So our strength is that we are really able to make breads of all sorts, like breads that is eaten here in Switzerland, bread that is actually made in the Middle East, Lebanon and Israel, okay? And bread, even that is made, that Indians eat. The Indian bread is chapati and all of those things, let's say, for example. Okay, and so this is just an example. So we can also make breads of with all those, mix and match of nuts and fruits and those things. And to the bread, we can also add more pastries, okay, or cakes and so on. So that is our strength. We are able to make every way that's. So what is our weakness? What is our weakness? In what areas do we receive most complaints? Okay, in this particular case. But the weakness is what we will not be able to give. Here in Switzerland, the regulations around food products are very, very high. Okay, very high. If you're running a restaurant, if you're running a hotel, it's really very tough. The certifications are so high, hygiene certification and this certification, that certification. You need to have special toilets for your, different staff and so on and so on. So it's very, very complex. So in order to do that, you do not have that money to get all those certifications that you need. You do not have. And because you do not have the certification, the government, whatever they're offering now, which I'm considering as an opportunity to, they're asking for bakers who would bake for the Swiss Army, for example. Okay, so I see that the weakness is that we do not have the certification, though we have the capacity. So that is a weakness. All right, this is internal, but you learn that I can do something about this thing. You know what? I will look around. I will talk to some banks and I will organize for 5,000 francs or 10,000 francs. If I get this, then I can make those special, requirements that is needed. So the person, I start to look for bank loans on that, okay? And the banks say that, yes, we will be willing to give you under ABC conditions. Everything comes with a condition, right? Let's keep aside the strength and weakness, because it is, in life, things will not be so clear that, okay, A is done, now is B. So you really will have to move, simultaneously together. So now we're looking at the external opportunities and threat. Why is external opportunities and threat external? Opportunity is that because of this, if you get this contract from the government, the Swiss Army, what is your opportunity? Well, you would be a name, not just known in Wheeler, but you will be a company known all over Switzerland. You will be a Toblerone, you'll be Lederach, okay, or Victorinox, or whatever, you will have that. And then the other opportunity is that today you are earning, let's say, 50,000, but with this project, you'll be earning, let's say, 1 million, actually. And today you are engaging 25 people, but then you will be engaging 100 people. I say 100 because in Switzerland, very few people do a lot of work together. In some countries, what 2 people in Switzerland do are done by at least 6 to 8 people. Okay, that's how it is. So yeah, if you, for example, here in Switzerland, in order to learn how to cut your hair, the coiffeur or the hairdresser, they all learn for actually the apprenticeship. It's for 3 full years actually. You learn for 3 full years as a profession. And then the person, does other studies and so on. Then the girl or whomsoever, she can open a shop, a coffee shop. She's the manager. She's the one who cuts the hair. She's the one who cleans and gathers everything together. So, and when we go to cut our hair, we pay close to 80 to 100 Swiss francs. 100 Swiss francs in Indian rupees, I know it's around 8,000 rupees, okay? I do not know in Nigerian currency how much it is, but it's quite a lot. That's what I want to tell you, okay? So we pay a lot, but at the same time, we know that that person has studied and they are taking it, their living is coming from that in a very special manner. So going back to the opportunity. So now you know that is your opportunity. But then what could be the threats, that could come your way and that could really damage all the plans that you've put in? So conditions, competition. So conditions is, the threat is that the authorities will have to come and check your facility. And they have to give you a certification, a newer certification, a better certification. Maybe you will not get it, and it's not in your control to change the thing. And then what is a competition in business terms? A competitor is somebody who does the same thing like you in the market or gives a product, sells a product that can be used instead of your product. So one example, let's say that I am selling, let's say that, I'm talking about a bakery, right? So in my bakery example, my competitors would be the other well-known bakery. Migros is one of our biggest retail chain here. So they have their own bakery and they are experienced. They easily produce so much bread. So they are my competitors. And others could be, I talked about, let's say, not just bread, but somebody else is selling bread that can be actually stored for a longer time because of Swiss military personnel. They are up in the mountains sometimes and so on. So every day probably it's not possible to have fresh bread actually. So I'm only used to making fresh bread, but my competitors are making bread that can be actually kept, it can be frozen and kept for a longer time. You see, another example of competition would be maybe for, say Nike, they are for selling all those very nice shoes and so on and on. So for them, Adidas is a competitor actually. And the other thing is maybe if I'm selling footwears, okay. Somebody who sells flip-flops is still a competition because in Switzerland we have some warmer months too. So now do you get it? So strength is your strength, your company's strength. Okay, maybe you can say that, oh, why should I be chosen for this job? Or because you know what, I speak so many languages and I have so many, I've done so many expertise in, I have done so many projects in so many different countries. And I also know these different IT tools that are needed for. So those are my strengths. So that's why I believe that I should get this job. What are my weaknesses? Every time when you go for an interview, one of the most important things that you need to do is actually to think about your weaknesses. And it's more and more a question that is asked to you. What do you think is your weakness? Now you have to be very prudent. You cannot go and sit there and say, oh, you know what, I'm lazy, okay? Or I just hate to work in the computer. No, you just need to phrase your sentence in a way that you can also present in a manner that humbly brings out your weakness, but at the same time, you are presenting that I will be able to do that. You can, So opportunities and threats are from outside, that is beyond your control. Okay, strengths and weaknesses for you to manage. Are we good? SWOT analysis. Okay, let's check what happens next. No, okay. I skipped this one. We will not do this one. I don't think. I think this is important. I will take the next 10 minutes to talk about this one. You remember yesterday we talked about people, we talked about emotional intelligence, we talked about emotional leadership, and we talked about how people respond and people are different. So I'm going again back to this because today more and more we are all culturally intertwined. Okay, so those were times when you need to see somebody else from some other continent. You need to really travel all the way there to see them. But today it's not that. You're just in your place and you see people from many different countries, working with you. Here in Vivan Base, we see that, and so would be the other. So there is this gentleman called Gert Hofstede, and he actually came up with a cultural dimension. This is for nations, countries, okay, not for people. It's for country. He classified countries into categories. He said that, not categories actually. He identified these 6 dimensions, and he said that some countries show high of one and low of the other. Okay, so he classified countries into this. He didn't classify people into this, but countries into this. Yesterday, when we were talking about emotional intelligence, it was about people, but here it's about country. And I want to give you some thoughts on this. So he said that some countries have high power distance, some have low. Now, what it is, I will tell you afterwards, okay? In some countries, there is more individualism, or it's higher. In some countries, collectivism is higher. Although he doesn't say that one country shows only this one and the other country shows only this one. He's saying it's actually a spectrum. So some countries tend to show higher, but within the same country, you can find the lower side as well. Then he says that some countries show high of masculinity versus femininity. This doesn't mean that male and female. Okay? This is not male and female. I'll tell you what it means. And then he says uncertainty avoidance. Some countries, how it is normal for them to deal with this, and some it is not. So, like I said, I'll tell you later. Long versus short-term orientation. Some countries focus on long, some on short, and some countries, they are more into indulgences, and some countries they're restrained. Let's look at it in detail, what it means. Okay, So let's begin with the first one. I said about power distance, right? What power distance means? In some countries, there is very clear hierarchy. It functions only in a hierarchy, okay? So there is a clear distinction of who's the highest, who's the boss, who's coming under him, who's coming under him, who's coming under him. And everybody respects that. And the one who is on the lowest, he cannot go directly and talk to the boss at the second level or at the third level or at the top level. Because in those countries, hierarchies are very important and that defines those countries. Whereas there are some other countries that are egalitarian. It's very flat. There is no hierarchy. In Switzerland, we do not have any hierarchy. For example, take India. In our job market, it's very important. There's promotions basically every year. Okay, so you join as I don't know, maybe you join as a executive and as an analyst, and then you get promoted as something else and something else and something else, and there's always promotions every few years. Okay, but here in Switzerland, no, that doesn't happen like that. Actually, even in large multinationals, you actually come into a company, and there is some room to go up, but afterwards you're only moving horizontally and you're not moving vertically up. And here in Switzerland, we can directly go and talk to a boss actually. So my professor, when I came here 23 years back, when I was doing my PhD, my professor, he was not just my professor, but he was the head of the whole economics and social sciences department of the University of Freiburg, one of the biggest universities in Switzerland. And also, he was the dean of the entire university. So there were a few deans, and he was one of the deans. And when I came, well, he used to come to work at 5 in the morning. Okay, 5 in the morning he was there. And one morning I saw there was nobody there, and I was there too. But I saw him and I greeted him, and we were talking. And he said he was just went to the photocopier. He has to walk a long way because the big university to the staircase, and he just took a photocopy and he was coming back. The country where I came from, there we would not expect my professors doing that actually. You see, or maybe some of us, we would not imagine our bosses doing that. They would always have somebody beneath them doing that. So some countries they show flat hierarchy, some have very strong hierarchy. Is that good? Power distance. That's power distance. Now collectivism versus individualism. Some countries for them individual rights are more important. We talked about it. Some countries for them grouping, collective, societal rights are more important. There is no questions. There are no questions asked. You do it in those collective societies. You do things without any question. You do this for your parents. You say that, okay, you know what? I will take care of my parents. I pay all their living costs and so on. When they're in hospital, I take care of all the charges. I'm living with them. You do that without asking. Okay, so some countries are high on that side, and some countries it's more about, okay, it's my individual right. So it says extent of which member of a culture prioritizes their individual goals over the goals of the group. So some countries, the individual goals are very important. And actually, those countries who actually put their individual goals ahead, they are countries who are very organized, very systematized, and things are going, the processes are very well organized. Okay. I'll let you to ask questions at the end. Okay. So let me quickly just finish all these points. Then, uncertainty avoidance. There are some countries, some cultures, they don't like uncertainty. No, everything needs to be told, everything needs to be planned, and they need to know what they are going into, what they're signing up for. And any deviations to that is a threat. But there are other countries, they know that things can go uncertain anytime. You plan today to plan today to go to the bank, get your bank account done, and then come back and go for a lunch with your family, and then come back and visit a beautiful park, and then fly out that evening. This I can do, here in Switzerland, even though the distance is so much, we can still do that. But when we travel to India, for example, the places where we actually go to some remote places, okay, for some reasons, because of the projects that we do. So we say, okay, we go to the bank account, just to open the bank account. It takes one full day, actually. It takes a full day, and we cannot do the rest of the things. And sometimes we don't need to go the second day because the electricity was not there in that particular bank at that time, or the computer was not working, and so on. So just to tell you, okay, for guys who are joining from India, things are very different. Okay, India is on the lead. If you look at the CEOs of the world, they are the ones who are on the leading edge. But I'm talking about, I come from Delhi. Okay, I grew up in a city where everything goes very fast and so on. But I'm talking about the places that I go to. It doesn't represent all of the country. So you can also translate this to other countries in the world where there's similar situation. Okay, but it's okay. We are flexible. And yeah, femininity versus masculinity, what it means, it's not feminine masculine. It means that the masculine culture, there is something like what motivates people want to be the best or liking what to do. In feminine cultures, it is more that they want to care for the weaker people, okay, in the society. They don't look for appreciation. So the Western world comes under that. It's not, there is not a lot of appreciation when children do something, or when people do something extraordinary. There's not a lot of appreciation because it's a way of life. It's normal. Whereas in other cultures, there is appreciation for everything that is done. Okay, he won a basketball match. Wow, that's great. And my son, he is past kindergarten, so there is a celebration and appreciation. So it's very in masculine cultures. It's all about uh, making things very visible. Okay. Then let's go to the long-term, short-term orientation. Some countries, all the thinking is long-term perspective. They always think of long-term perspective, but some countries they cannot plan things like that. So they think of what can we do today, now, midterm, and so on, because things are so dynamically changing. Also, the way scheduling things, like for example, we book our tickets to India 1 year in advance, so we need to plan things accordingly because we are a big family. When we go, it costs a lot of money because we go during the peak time and our kids have holidays. So we sometimes ask our friends, can you please give us a scheduling for this one, that, so we can take in, because many people are asking for different things. And we might ask them 1 month before our travel, but they are not willing. They say, come here, then we will decide. Okay, because it's normal, it's spontaneous culture. And when we reach India, we just give a call and they say, I am ready to meet you, no matter how big they are. You see, so it's different how cultures manage the orientation of time. And the last one, some cultures, they don't do certain things because that is for greater good of their society, of their family, of their, the clan, and so on. But some cultures, they just indulge because they just want to satisfy what they feel. Okay, so Hofstede actually classifies countries in that, and normally people coming from those countries, you can usually say that, okay, this person is coming from this country, so our cluster of countries, they would exhibit this. But remember, individuals are different. So you can see somebody from Switzerland, which is which actually maybe it's a country that is which one was that? Uncertainty avoidance is very high in Switzerland. Okay. But this particular person that you're working with is just different because the way he was brought up, his upbringing, he's different. So what I'm trying to say is this is based on the countries. Okay. All right. And individuals can be different, but generally this is how. So when you go into a country, you need to have this one into your mindset. Okay, it's 12 and 1 minute to 12, and I just stop here. I think I give so much to you. Are you with me?
Yeah.
Do you feel overwhelmed?
No.
You guys are smart, actually. So, yeah, thank you. Okay, so time for questions. Friends from online, you could also ask questions, or if you want to say something to add to this information, or you don't agree with me, please, yes, open for everything.
I have a question.
Have
you ever heard of smarter goals?
Smart?
Adding ER
No.
to smart goals?
Yeah, there is a smarter goals.
Yeah.
What are the ER?
Yeah, I learned. Anyways, the ER stand for evaluation and reinstate.
Yeah.
And so after
makes sense.
It was very interesting because I'd heard about smart goals. My dad.
Yeah, he grew up with that. Yeah, very.
So I grew up with that, but
yeah.
Our speaker talked about evaluating and reinstating.
Yeah, that's.
And I found that was very helpful. And,
yeah. Exactly, it's very important, because there are other tools that we use. Okay, it's called DMAIC and so on. So those things are in there. So we have Shane here, and he's talking about smarter goals. So to the smart, you add ER. So it's very important if you're doing a project that you evaluate. If you're studying your piano lessons, for instance, you stop and you evaluate, and then maybe you need to do a course correction, perhaps. Why are you underachieving? Maybe that's the way, because it's okay. Why are you overachieving? Okay, because you have very strong teammates and so on. So yes, the ER is a very important part. You can add to the SMART. E for evaluation and R for reinstating. Okay, and so R is to your course correction basically. Thank you for sharing. I will add it to my next teaching with the young folks. Yeah, very good. We learn from one another. And anything else? Any other question?
What kind of asking you if you could give an example, for example, of one that fits mostly with one particular side of the cultural dimensions model, and then a country, for example, that would fit the other side. Would that be possible?
Yeah, that's true. Actually, let's say that, to be honest, Hofstede kind of divides the eastern side of the world and the western side of the world. Okay, so if you are looking at power distance, okay, India, China is power distance. Switzerland, United States are on the lower side of the power distance. Okay, and collectivism, individualism, again, the developed world, the whole of the developed world, actually, which again, Europe and America, the Northern America, they are coming high on the individualistic, whereas countries like, even like India would be a very good example of collectivist. Okay, India, Myanmar, and other Asian countries, they are examples of this one. Then uncertainty avoidance index. Again, it's more the Western world. Okay, the United States is an example of a low uncertainty index. Okay, and Switzerland, Germany, Netherlands. These are all low uncertainty index. Higher ones would be again the Asian countries. Okay, India, Myanmar, maybe Thailand, and so on. And feminine masculinity, higher are, India would be higher on the masculinity. Masculinity doesn't have anything to do with male chauvinism or male imagery, okay? It just means that there's a need of recognition. Every time there is a need of recognition. The best, the best, the best, the best, the best. Okay, there's a need of recognition. Femininity would be, Switzerland is a feminine culture, actually. They just take people in stride. Nobody. One example is like, we are close friends. We were together with them in Stockholm, Sweden, many, many years back. Swiss couple. And so they asked us if this is the first time I have been in. I said yes. And we asked, how about for you? She said, no, I was here when my grandfather, he got the Nobel Prize for DDT. He was the one who found DDT, the pesticide thing. Okay, so she said, I was here as a kid, when he got that one. We knew them for so many years, they never said. But if the country that I come from, this would be everywhere, basically, on my home and on my walls and so on. Okay, that's an example. Then long-term orientation, yes, the Western world, Switzerland is long-term orientation, Germany, and Norway, Sweden, Denmark, these are all long-term orientation and high on the long-term orientation, okay? And the low ones on the short-term orientation would be, again, countries, African countries would be coming under this. Again, Asian countries would be coming under this, okay? And indulgence, strong on indulgence is actually more the Western countries, and restraint on indulgences is actually on the Asian world. Yeah, because for them, like many things, Indian families living here in Geneva, we were just last week, I had the privilege of organizing the International Women's Day luncheon for ambassadors, female ambassadors and spouses, and we were talking together because we had a very nice conversation. And one of the speakers was a psychologist from the United States who grew up in US and here, and she was telling that how, when her kids were growing up and going to the international school in Geneva, they were called for some party, which was really not the right party that we would send our kids. And this friend said, although as a Christian, it was difficult for her to say no, but the Indian friend, she said, I cannot send my children there because what will my family think? You see? So the whole concept of that's a way. So they restrain from that. And sometimes it's good, actually.
Yeah. Thank you. May I ask another question?
Uh-huh.
So one example, for example, if you're wanting to set up a bakery, for example, in a traditional and short-term country, or a futuristic and long-term focused country, what would be possible differences of how you would set that up?
Mm-hmm. Okay. So bakery, right? Bakery is really it's a very challenging business actually. Bakery is more complicated. Bakery has to do with the local taste of people. So I might go with my, let's say that I go to India, okay? And I want to set up this bakery of mine there. I would only pick up big cities. I'd pick up maybe Hyderabad, Delhi, Bombay, and big cities where I see that where there's a lot of Western population. People are used to eating food outside and so on. So then in those, what I would do is, so I know that my target group there, it's only this particular segment. Okay, and my advertisement, my marketing, everything would be going to only this particular segment. Okay, and if I would go to the United States, actually, for instance, which is one of the other side of the thing, I will launch my Swiss goodness. I will say that, let's say again, it's bakery. So a chocolate or fondue, that's much easier because I'm using cheese, and Switzerland is known for its cheese, right? So maybe I will keep my bakery thing low key, but there I will change my product that I'm selling. Okay, so I would say instead of my bakery, I just keep the same name or give a new name or whatever, but I will say instead of doing my bakery stuff, let me do something with cheese. Okay, so because in Swiss cheese is the best cheese, so I will sell it based on cheese, so that because I need to be able to have a market. Otherwise, it's called barrier to market entry. That means, you are going to enter a market. There are many barriers, government barriers, people's culture barriers, and mindset barriers, and so on. And you do not have the capacity to find all of those. If I may quickly give you one example, when I did my PhD, it was on strategic management on telecommunications. Okay, so I have to do the case study of some companies. So I picked up a few companies, very well-known ones. At that time, this was 23 years back. So one was Swisscom. So I had to study those companies which were successful in India and some not successful. And Swisscom was a not successful case study. They went to Switzerland. Swisscom was a public sector company. We will talk about public-private tomorrow. Okay, what is it? So Switzerland had such a profound technology. They had a lot of money. They went into India and they actually lost all the money because they went to India with a joint venture and they wanted to have the management say. But in India, with whom they made a joint venture, because India has a strong culture in itself, So it didn't work well. They lost all the money and they came back, never to return back again to any other country in the world in that part. And they decided to stay within Europe and they're doing very well. So it's just an example. Not that Switzerland didn't have money, not that Switzerland didn't have a technological know-how, but what they missed on is a cultural fact of how decisions are made. You can't just make decisions and tell them, please do this one. No, you can't do that. Does that
Thank you
make sense?
so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any questions online?
Yes, here from Kochi. Can you give one example or a few examples for the collectivism? I know it falls on India, so like in Indian examples that happens in India.
Okay, so the difference between individualism and collectivism is the individual rights. So here in the Western world, it's more about my rights, my freedom, my rights, my time, and so on. And one example is also, people, the mobile numbers that we have here in Switzerland, we don't give it around just like that. If somebody is asking my mobile number, or if I'm asking the mobile number of someone else, I really need to come to the position. We have met for the first time, we have had a chat, talked together, and we have moved to the second level of friendship and then say, hey, I would like to stay in touch with you. Can we exchange contacts? Then the person says, okay, I will give you my personal email or personal, mobile number. Otherwise, they say, okay, this is my office number. Here it is. It means that You can contact me, call me during my professional time, and let's keep it to that level. Okay, so that's one example of individual rights. Collectivism, for instance, when we come to India, phone is not at all a personal, although it's a personal thing, it's still not a personal thing. Okay, so phone number, it's something that we commonly exchange. And I even know that I see on Facebook too, friends, sometimes they're writing, they're saying that, hey, we are doing this. If you want, get in touch with us. And somebody down there writes, how can I contact you? And the person puts a phone number there. It's a private number, because they think that it is okay when it's for everybody. Another example of collectivism would be, like our parents back in India and Africa and so on, they raise us up without any expectation, and they actually put a lot of money and their time and all of those inside. And it is not an expectation that when the children grow up, that they should take care of them. But it is by default, it is assumed that, when my parents get old, I'm there to take care of them. If we need to take care of their bills, we will do that. If we need to take care of their health, we will be there. Those of us who live far away, we make sure that, there is somebody taking care of them, being there. So, and also, you don't need to have a specific appointment to go and meet your parents or your family member. You can just go and meet them anytime, which is not the case here in the Western world. So collectivism is because in the Western world or countries where there is individualism, the society does that. The government has put schemes there where elderly will be taken care. They go to places where they are cared in a better manner, nice manner. We do not have those kind of old age homes, or we do have today, but it's not the same level. So, or time in the hospital is as minimum as possible in India, and then the people come home and you take care of your sick, because we think what the society does, we actually try to give it from our family. The support is from family without any expectation. Say somebody from your family, say your mother is going for a surgery, immediately all your aunts and uncles, they come around, they come to help you, to take care of you, and so on. So that is called collectivism. So the government doesn't do that, but your families do that. The support system comes from the family. Is that does it answer your question? It's collective rights over individual rights.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And Joel, I'll give it to you. There's one more minute.
Mhm.
Okay.